5 types of relatives to avoid as you get older. The last one is a must. As we increase in years, we naturally begin to ponder more about the people in our lives. We see more clearly who elevates us and holds us back. One of the hardest truths is that not all of our family helps us grow. Yes, family is meant to be our support system, but some relatives are, unfortunately, toxic people who can damage our mental health, well-being, and general happiness, even if we love them dearly. This is a painful truth, but it's one we must confront directly as we age. In this video, we will deep dive into 5 different types of relatives to steer clear of as you age, and how this will impact you for the better. First, let's cover the first type. One type of relative to stay away from is the drama magnet. This person always seems to find themselves at the heart of a crisis, whether it's their own or someone else's. They're dramatic and need to create problems where there are none. They will, whether you want it or not, drag you into their chaotic world. The downside to the drama magnet is that they suck your emotional energy. They don't simply unload their problems onto you, they also expect you to get involved in solving them. All the highs and lows can be you putting yourself through a lot of emotional turmoil, which can in turn be very stressful and anxious. Stress is one of the top causes of health problems like heart disease, diabetes, and mental conditions like depression and anxiety, according to research. We have got a drama magnet in our life that could add to it a lot. As you age, your time and energy become ever more valuable. Your patience is not what it used to be when you were younger, and you do not want to deal with unnecessary drama anymore. Then, you begin to see that the drama magnet isn't necessarily interested in solving anything. They crave attention and validation. You are saving yourself from their daily presence that pulls you into the drama. It's understandably important to set boundaries with those types of relatives and put your own mental and emotional well-being first. Next up is the manipulator. The manipulative family member is an expert at finding your sweet spot, making you feel through what he/she wants, usually through tools like guilt, fear, or obligation. These people might utter things like, "After everything I've done for you," or "You owe me," in a bid to make you feel like they hold some kind of debt over you. These are designed to play on your sense of duty and obligation, so that you feel either you must give in to their demands. The aim of the manipulator is pretty clear. They want you to give them what they require, no matter how that makes you feel. They don't care about your comfort, needs, or well-being. Rather, they rely on emotional manipulation to get what they want. At first, manipulative behavior is often subtle, but in time it grates on and breaks you down. And no matter how much you give in to their demands, they will only expect more from you. They have a knack for manipulating circumstances and making you feel unreasonable for having needs or boundaries. Every time you try to stand up for yourself, they guilt you into feeling bad, as if the issue is with you. Even when you believe you are being rational and reasonable, you can be beaten down by all this emotional pressure until you start to become confused about your worth, your right to make decisions, and to be assertive. It's a gradual, unflagging process that can leave emotional scars for long after. Research indicates that manipulative relationships can cause emotional devastation. Manipulative relatives aren't just a temporary hit to your self-esteem, they probably harm you in the long run, resulting in anxiety, depression, and helplessness. With age, we learn our value, and thus we understand that we shouldn't be wasting our time trying to please someone who has no regard for our happiness. And rather than empower us, they shame us into hyping our lives. We feel obligated to fulfill their every demand. Recognizing these toxic patterns is key. as is protecting yourself from them. The third kind of relative to avoid is the eternal victim, a relative who always seems to have the weight of the world on their shoulders and never takes accountability for their situation or the way things go in their life. Whatever the situation, small or large, they see themselves as being wrong, always achieving the role of the victim. They always operate under the assumption that the world owes them something, and they are always looking for someone to blame for the problems in their life. The perpetual victim welcomes obstacles because the victim incessantly claims that their own choices or behavior have no play in whatever crisis is challenging them. Instead, they expect others to care for them emotionally, to solve their problems, or to empathize with their ongoing troubles. This can, indeed, make for a wearing dynamic, as they often request you focus on and prop up their situation, but will never do anything to change or help things get any better. Scientific evidence has shown that this victim mentality can lead to severe mental health components, depression, anxiety, and low self-esteem. By consistently identifying as a victim, they end up stuck in the cycle of learned helplessness and hopelessness. They can't take responsibility for themselves, blaming everything but themselves. And it's easier to do so instead of moving deeper into themselves and facing the truth in a healthy way. This mindset over time breeds chronic dissatisfaction and stagnation. And when you are with a perpetual victim, you cannot help them unless they are ready to, for it is a mindset that they're in, and only they can break out of it. This behavior can be draining for those around them. The long-suffering victim is often asking for emotional support or caretaking from you, drawing you into their issues and making you feel that it's your responsibility to fix things. It can turn into an emotional ball and chain, one that takes more energy than you have to spare for keeping in contact. You begin to understand as you grow older that you cannot afford to hold someone else's baggage, especially when the person in question will not take responsibility for their own lives. There comes a point where you realize that nothing you say or do in terms of support or sympathy can affect any matter of change in their situation unless they are willing to actually help themselves. It's no fault to have sympathy for somebody experiencing tough life circumstances, but you need to know when their mentality is preventing them from true transformation. It might not be easy to get some distance from a chronic victim, but you need the emotional distance for yourself. If your long-term dynamic involves you always being the one doing the caring for a person unwilling to grow up, then the interaction can suck the life force out of you and stop you from evolving in your own life. No matter how difficult it is to let go of the idea of the relationship you want, keep your energy on the relationships where both sides respect, work, and inspire each other to grow. All relationships should be reciprocal, and constantly being pulled into someone else's victim narrative does not allow for the type of healthy, balanced connections that we all need to function. The toxic positivity preacher is a friend or family member who, no matter the situation, insists you stay positive. While there's certainly a time and a place for optimism, the toxic positivity preacher takes it a step too far and sets an unreasonable and damaging standard for you. They dismiss your feelings, telling you to just get over it. Or worse, it could be worse, even when you're going through actual struggles. Instead of being empathetic or nurturing, they tell you to suck it up and smile, making you feel bad or ashamed for being sad, angry, or worried. This person thinks that if you're not perpetually happy or positive, you've got a problem. It's like positivity is the only acceptable emotion, and anything less is just an attitude problem. But this kind of positivity is neither healthy nor practical. Indeed, it can be detrimental to your emotional well-being. Toxic positivity is problematic because it ignores or belittles real struggles and real emotions that life naturally contains. We all go through hard times, the grief of a lost loved one, a relationship setback, money troubles, daily stress. And it's important to acknowledge those feelings instead of forcing the fake it till you make it approach. Toxic positivity dismisses these feelings, insisting that we should always look on the bright side, even when we're hurting or struggling. Psychological research has long demonstrated that suppressing negative emotions or avoiding them altogether can actually foster mental health problems like depression, anxiety, and emotional numbness. Hiding how we really feel doesn't eradicate these feelings, it just exaggerates them later. These emotions are repressed, and they build up and create increased pressure and stress in your life, which can be far more damaging than simply allowing yourself to feel them. Feelings are very real, and they need to be acknowledged and processed. You need to feel all the emotions too, even the bad ones, because that's what helps you heal and grow. Trying to suppress or otherwise hide those feelings with forced positivity simply delays the inevitable and will make it harder to cope with your authentic feelings in the future. When a family member keeps spouting toxic positivity, it may be helpful to consider that their advice isn't in your best interest. Instead of providing the real support you need, they are telling you to ignore your pain, which only makes it take longer to heal. By avoiding this type of relative, you'll make more room for the relationships that do respect your emotions and validate your experience, not minimize it or brush it aside. You are worthy of space for yourself, even in moments of not euphoria all the livelong day. The fifth and final type of relative to avoid is the one who sees you as a constant competition. This relative is constantly competing with you, whether in career, family, or whatever you have going on in your life. They view your successes as a threat, and rather than rejoice in your success, they feel the need to one-up you. This kind of behavior can feel very taxing, making every exchange a competition instead of a connection. It is tiring to have to be better than this relative at all times. They will never rejoice with you, and their sole purpose is to make you feel less than. The catch is that relationships aren't competitions. They should be supportive and full of mutual respect. When you have a relative that is in a constant comparison with you, it causes a rift in the relationship that is strong enough to wear out even the strongest bonds. Research indicates that unhealthy competition in relationships can result in feelings of inadequacy, frustration, and resentment. These feelings can also accumulate and lead to a toxic relationship among family members. With age, you become more attuned to this type of behavior, and it becomes even more essential to extricate yourself from others who prey on your insecurity. It's more worthwhile to spend time with people who inspire you and bring you up, instead of people who keep you feeling like you're perpetually in a race. In short, as we age, we must be intentional about those we allow into our lives. The family is everything, but not all relatives are good for you. The drama magnet, the manipulator, the martyr, the toxic positivity preacher, and the competitive relative can cause angst and damage to spare. As we age, each hour we have tends to become more expensive. It's important to invest in those that bring us peace and positivity into our lives, however that may look. If you are able to look beyond those analytic explanations, you'll realize this. Be more platonic. Create a heavenly life and get rid of negative influences. Cutting family members out of your life isn't an easy decision to make, but in some cases, it's the best decision that you can make for your emotional and mental health.